While dance is often perceived as abstract or apolitical, as we've seen, it has been used as a tool for political propaganda and soft power by nations for centuries. But it was also a powerful vehicle for expression, protest, and transformation in the lives of people, shaping and protecting the identities of groups across race and class divides. During the Civil Rights Movement, while demonstrations filled streets and courtrooms saw landmark rulings, dancers and choreographers responded in the language of movement. Their bodies became sites of resistance, storytelling, and radical possibility. From the grand stages of New York to makeshift studios, Black artists began to claim space in a field that had long excluded them. Ballet, steeped in aristocratic traditions from the courts of Renaissance Europe, maintained a rigid hierarchy well into the 20th century. In the United States, it was slow to embrace racial diversity, and it was against this backdrop that Arthur Mitchell emerged as a seismic force. Mitchell joined the New York City Ballet in 1955 and became its first Black principal dancer in 1962. One of his most groundbreaking moments came in George Balanchine's Agon, premiered in 1957, in which Mitchell performed with the white ballerina Diana Adams. This casting, upheld by Balanchine despite significant social and institutional resistance, was revolutionary. Mitchell didn't just dance beautifully as he always did. He shattered a visual and cultural taboo, representing a new image of who ballet was even for. In 1968, following the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Mitchell shifted his focus. He originally had plans to help found the National Ballet of Brazil, but when King was assassinated, Mitchell decided that he was needed at home, and he returned to Harlem. Partnering with ballet master Carol Shook, they co-founded the Dance Theatre of Harlem, or DTH, in 1969. Mitchell began building a new American ballet company, one that reflected the people of his neighborhood and of his nation. Operating out of a converted garage, Dance Theatre of Harlem offered rigorous classical training to dancers of color. It was both a rebuke to ballet's racial exclusivity and a celebration of Black American cultural identity. Performances integrated European traditions with contemporary Black narratives, reframing what ballet could look like and whom it could serve. Despite challenges, including a company hiatus between 2004 and 2012 due to financial constraints, DTH persevered through its school and outreach programs, and in 2013, the company returned under the artistic direction of Virginia Johnson, who was one of its original principal dancers and most iconic ballerinas. Her leadership reaffirmed DTH's mission and expanded its impact, creating a home for excellence that centered diversity. And while ballet was transforming slowly, modern dance provided a more adaptable stage for political expression. Alvin Ailey, born in 1931 in a segregated Texas, discovered dance after relocating to Los Angeles. There, he studied under the legendary Lester Horton, and when Horton died suddenly in 1953, Ailey took over his company, an act that launched his own trajectory as a choreographer and as a leader. In 1958, Ailey founded the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theatre, creating a space where Black dancers and stories could really take center stage. And his landmark work, Revelations, created in 1960, remains to this day one of the most frequently performed works in all of modern dance, using spirituals, gospel, and blues. Revelations explores the full spectrum of Black experience: suffering, resistance, community, and joy. Ailey's work proved that modern dance could be both technically rigorous and deeply rooted in cultural history. Among Ailey's most significant collaborators was Judith Jamison. Born in 1943, she joined Alvin Ailey American Dance Theatre in 1965 and quickly became one of its most iconic performers. Her commanding presence and emotional intensity redefined what it meant to be a leading dancer. In 1971, Ailey created Cry for Jamison, a tour de force solo dedicated to Black women and inspired by his own mother. It became a defining moment for both artist and muse. After Ailey's death in 1989, Jamison assumed artistic leadership of the company, serving as a director for more than 2 decades. Under her tenure, Alvin Ailey American Dance Theatre expanded its global presence, strengthened its educational programs, and opened a permanent home for the company in New York. The legacy of these trailblazers lives on through leaders like Alicia Graf Mack, a former dancer with Dance Theatre of Harlem, Alvin Ailey American Dance Theatre, and Complexion's Contemporary Ballet. Mack is known for her stylistic range and intellectual depth. She also performed with Lines Ballet and alongside musical artists like Beyoncé, Alicia Keys, and John Legend. Academically, she graduated magna cum laude with a BA in history from Columbia University, and later earned an MA in nonprofit management from Washington University in St. Louis. In 2018, she was appointed director of the dance division at Juilliard, becoming the first woman of color and the youngest person to ever hold the position. At Juilliard, Mack introduced West African dance to the curriculum, developed outreach initiatives for neurodiverse audiences, and created opportunities for students to connect with leading companies worldwide. Under her leadership, every dancer in the class of 2023 secured professional placement after graduation in dance companies. In November 2024, it was announced that Alicia Graf Mack would become the next artistic director of Alvin Ailey American Dance Theatre, effective July 1st, 2025. She'll be the 4th person to lead the company in its 66-year history, bringing her full circle from company dancer to institutional leader. And these artists that we just mentioned are not only standalone icons in the dance world, but when we think about who dance is really for, they stand as the scaffolding of possibility within the industry. The political power of dance is not confined to the United States. In Argentina, Tango, a genre born in the late 19th century in the working-class neighborhoods of Buenos Aires and Montevideo, reveals a similarly complex story. Emerging from African rhythms, European melodies, and Creole storytelling, tango was initially dismissed by Argentines' elites as vulgar and improper. Tango was a dance of the ports, developed in crowded tenements and street corners where newly arrived immigrants and Afro-Argentines exchanged rhythms, gestures, and stories, often performed between 2 men before being stylized for mixed-gender partners. Early tango was filled with improvisation and tension. It was a reflection of life on the social periphery, sensual, expressive, and unfiltered. Ironically, it was only after tango became popular in Paris in the early 20th century that Argentina's upper classes began to embrace it. As Argentine musicians and dancers toured Europe, they returned with newfound prestige, and tango was rebranded as a symbol of national identity. It began appearing in theaters and formal salons, with its wilder edges smoothed out to suit bourgeois tastes. And under President Juan Perón, 1946 to 1955, tango was officially celebrated and integrated into educational and cultural programs. It became a tool for building a unified national identity, embodying the values of passion, strength, and authenticity. Very similar to the way ballet has in other countries and other centuries. However, during Argentina's military dictatorships, 1976 to 1983, tango's fate changed. Milongas, or social tango dances, were restricted, and musicians were surveilled or silenced. Still, the tango community persisted, reclaiming public spaces, innovating in exile, and keeping the form alive underground. In the democratic era that followed, tango surged back into prominence, embraced both as a heritage and as a living art. And no story of tango is complete without Carmencita Calderón. Born in 1905, she passed in 2005. A legendary figure who began dancing at age 13. She rose to fame with her partner and starred in Argentina's first sound film called Tango, made in 1933. After her partner's death on stage in 1942, Calderón continued to perform and teach for decades. She gave her final public performance at the age of 100 and was honored by the Buenos Aires legislature and the Teatro Colón. Her century-long career charts tango's transformations from outlawed street dance to global art form, proof that dance, in every style and setting, carries with it history, politics, and the power to change both. Thanks for listening to the Dance Lens podcast, where dance meets the arts, history, fashion, politics, and social and cultural evolutions and revolutions. If you like this and you want more great dance content, make sure you're subscribed on our Substack, where there'll be more podcasts, videos, articles, and an upcoming interview series with great ballerinas such as Jillian Murphy, who is retiring after almost 30 years as a principal dancer with American Ballet Theater, and the great Wen Tam, who is part of bringing San Francisco Ballet up to a world-class level.